Now here is the risk that the Browns had to take with I love you, Cleveland. And I love you, Ohio. And a very pleasant welcome to this week's version of Bonus Time with Drennan here on the Big Play Sports Network, brought to you by our good friends at FanDuel. Hi, I'm Bruce Drennan along with Ryan Smith. Great to have you aboard. Wearing my Cavs shirt today because one season ends, the Guardians, and another season begins. And the Cavs opened up with their preseason schedule last night, a 1-point loss to Chicago. Big deal. They got 3 more. And then the opener is Wednesday, October 22nd at New York against the Knicks. Once again, I think the Cavs are going to be very strong, may wind up again with the best record in the East. The question is, the Big Four are back, so the big question is whether we can increase our physicality in the playoffs. And that's been the nemesis, and time will tell. But I think the season itself will, again, be incredibly successful, and the Cavs likely may wind up with the best record of any team. Ryan, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing well, Bruce. It's crazy to think just a couple weeks away, the Cavaliers season opener, and then a couple days after that, the Cavaliers home opener. So basketball, the Rocket Arena will be jumping here in Cleveland, Bruce. I'm excited for it. You mentioned huge expectations for the Cavs team this season, so it couldn't be more excited for it to start.
All right, I want to start with the Browns and the Flacco trade, which is no big deal to me. As you know, I've been advocating we have to find out about Gabriel and Sanders. So this was a wash, 5th-round pick, 6th-round pick, big deal. I don't know. Cincinnati's in a desperate situation, obviously, with Burrow being down for so long. But to me, it's vital we find out about Gabriel, as I've been preaching, and hopefully he'll be great. But if he falters or if he gets hurt, then it's on us to find out about Sanders. And we have to find out about both these kids. So, to me, the Flacco deal, okay. I really thought the Browns were going to win this game in London. But in the end, once again, our heroes found a way to lose. Oh, they almost always do, don't they? I thought that rookie Dylan Gabriel played well in his debut. He seemed comfortable and within himself in his role as the field leader of the offense. Now, we obviously need more of a sample on him. And after all, the offense only scored 17 points. We've got to score. We've yet to score 20 in a game this year. That should tell you a lot. Let's see how he does this Sunday against Pittsburgh. I pointed out last week how impressed I was with Judkins. Once again, very impressed. 23 carries, 110 yards. He's the real deal. I also thought that Njoku had a great game. And once again, the defense played well enough to win, and they once again gave the offense the opportunity to win the game. Doesn't that sound familiar? No turnovers, real good defense, good quarterbacking, effective running game, and we still lose. And just think, the season has only just begun. How about Will Reichardt's field goal attempt, which would have tied the game, hitting the camera wire and then causing it to veer to the football to veer to the right, thus missing the mark. It would have been good if he had not hit that wire. Now, here's my question. How could the field officials, the replay officials, or anybody from the Vikings coaching staff not see it? By the way, Gabriel became the first quarterback to make his debut overseas. But most revealing is he became the Browns' 41st quarterback since coming back as an expansion franchise in 1999. Think of that. There's been 47 presidents of the United States in 249 years. The Browns have had 41 quarterbacks in 30 years. Not even 30 years. My math is wrong.
Bruce, the Browns continue to find ways to lose games and defy odds. I know Nick Pannoni likes to say they always find a way to take a defeat out of the jaws of victory. You won the rushing battle. You had no turnovers, and you still managed to lose this game. And for the most part, you controlled the clock very well. It's pretty sad. Dylan Gabriel played okay. You mentioned no turnovers. Played within himself. The game plan was obviously very limited to protect a rookie, as it should be, especially overseas against a good defense from the Minnesota Vikings. He just didn't unmoved, Bruce. That's the word you use, unmoved. Like, he was fine, but he didn't give me any evidence to believe he's talented enough to alleviate some of the deficiencies on this roster. Now, that's maybe not be fair. It was his first game, but for an undersized quarterback, I suppose, you got to start somewhere. But I suppose it was a better start, a step in the right direction than continuing to roll out Joe Flacco. And as you mentioned, now we just got to see Dylan Gabriel, and eventually we'll see Shedeur Sanders and Bruce. Hopefully not, but I got a feeling we're going to see Deshaun Watson play football again this year.
I'm not even going there. I'm not going there. Oh, no. Instead, I'm going to a break. And when we come back, we'll look at the rest of the action over the weekend in the NFL. And boy, were there some upsets. That's next. Bonus time. We've only just begun.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Smart Choice Windows. Energy-efficient products at an affordable price. Visit smartchoicewindows.com today.
What a week in the NFL, huh? Detroit beat Cincinnati 37-24. Nothing big significance there, except David Montgomery grew up in Cincinnati. He went to Cincinnati Mount Healthy High School, and his return home as the star of the Detroit Lions, he ran for a touchdown, threw for another one on a trick play, and he was the Division III Ohio Player of the Year back in 2015. He combined with fellow running back Jahmyr Gibbs for 119 yards rushing, and this Bengals loss to Detroit snaps a 7-game winning streak versus the Lions and their first loss to Detroit since 1992. The Joe Burrow-less Bengals trailed 28-3 going into the fourth quarter, and Cincinnati is now 2-3, and Flacco, good luck. Pittsburgh was in their bye week, allowing them to get ready for the Browns Sunday. What a challenge. How about Houston, 44, Baltimore 10, in Baltimore? What's happened to the vaunted Ravens defense? With no Lamar Jackson, the Ravens are very beatable. They are now 1-4, and all the more reason for the Browns fans to be frustrated because this division is winnable. Derrick Henry rushed for only 33 yards in this one, Ryan.
That's what happens when you have such a great athlete at quarterback like Lamar Jackson. You build your game plans, you build your offense centered around him, and he's so good that when he's out and you put a normal quarterback like Cooper Rush in, you see it's not going to work out, and that just goes to show how good Lamar Jackson is and how desperate they are to get him back.
Meanwhile, C.J. Stroud threw for 4 touchdowns, and former Brown Nick Chubb rushed for 61 yards and a TD as the Texans dominated a 44-10 final. And leading 24-3 at the half. Things don't get any easier for Baltimore. They host the L.A. Rams Sunday, and Jackson won't play again. How about Denver going into Philly and handing the Super Bowl champions their first loss this year? 21-17 was the final score of the game. Bo Nix led the Broncos on 3 scoring drives on 3 possessions in the fourth quarter, and former Ohio State Buckeye J.K. Dobbins rushed for 79 yards and a touchdown. And the Denver defense held Saquon Barkley to only 30 yards rushing. Head coach Sean Payton and the Broncos appear to be a legitimate AFC championship contender, Ryan.
Yeah, something's wrong with the Eagles' offense. I wasn't surprised to see the result of this game. I think I picked the Broncos to go in there and at least cover, not necessarily win. But the Eagles haven't played 4 quarters of great football in a single week this season. You've seen them have deficiencies, and you only run the ball 6 times with Saquon Barkley when you're leading the game most of the time. Makes no sense. They got to figure something out.
Are the Indianapolis Colts Are they, as they breeze to a 40-6 thrashing of the Las Vegas Raiders, are they for real? Yes. Jonathan Taylor ran for 3 touchdowns, and Pete Carroll's Raiders are now 1-4, Ryan.
I wonder if we'll see Kenny Pickett sometime there in Las Vegas. Pete Carroll, I kind of wondered what it would be like this year when he comes back and coaches a team, but I got a feeling they're going to be looking for a head coach next year because if this fails, Geno Smith, he traded for him, went all in. That doesn't look great. And you got to restart with a younger guy and maybe a new culture setter outside of Pete Carroll.
Yeah, Carroll's as old as I am. All of a sudden, the Buffalo Bills don't seem to be the team to beat in the American Football Conference. I don't know if you agree with me on that, but I have to start off covering that game by making that statement. Another big upset. Former Buckeye Mike Vrabel's New England Patriots kicked a 52-yard field goal with 15 seconds remaining in this one and pulled off the 23-20 win in Orchard Park, of all places, handing the Bills their first loss of the year. Young Drake May managed a great game plan versus the Bills' high-powered offense, and credit Vrabel's defense for the game plan against the high-powered Bills offense. May had a tremendous second half. Get this. He went 13-14 for 184 yards. And this loss snaps a Bills 14-game home winning streak. Buffalo committed 3 turnovers, 2 by quarterback Josh Allen.
Yeah, you don't go into Buffalo and win a game by it being a fluke. The Patriots got one in Drake May, and you mentioned he wasn't necessarily tremendous the entire game, but it was the last real couple drives that he made key plays. The one where he was about to get sacked and got it out for a first down was absolutely tremendous. And look what Stephon Diggs is doing at his age, coming off an ACL tear. It makes you wonder how the Browns receivers can be so bad, Bruce.
Undrafted, both of them. Last Thursday night, shorthanded San Francisco beat their arch-rival L.A. Rams 26-23 in overtime. No Brock Purdy, no Nick Bosa, nor George Kittle, and 3 receivers missing. But the Niners improved to 4-1, and this wasn't Matthew Stafford's fault. He was 30 of 47 with 3 touchdowns and had a quarterback rating of 111. Can't blame him.
No, Matthew Stafford's been tremendous. 2 games in a row, he's almost thrown for 400 yards. Those are highs with the Rams. It's the defense that's an issue. You credit Mac Jones, though, more than anything to go on the road and command that offense. With your number 1 receiver being Kendrick Bourne. Again, it continues. Great teams like the 49ers with great leadership. They find ways to like the deficiencies. They're hurt, but they find ways to have guys come in. They build a solid game plan for their opponent, and they're smart, and they find guys like Mac Jones in free agency that can come out and be good quarterbacks when their starters go down.
How about this next one? After falling behind 10-0 after the first quarter of play in Los Angeles, Washington rallied for 27 unanswered points as quarterback Jaden Daniels led the Commanders to their big road victory. Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert was sacked 4 times. He's been sacked 16 times in 5 games. Granted, his offensive line is all banged up, but still. And how about this? In their first 3 games, the LA Chargers were the least penalized team in the National Football League. First 3 games. But in Game 4 against the New York Giants, they had 15 penalties for 107 yards. And in this loss to Washington, they committed 10 penalties for 85 yards. And they committed 3 turnovers in Washington territory, no less. Where's the discipline from Jim Harbaugh's coached Chargers?
Goes to show how fast things can change in the NFL, Bruce. Through 3 weeks, we're ready to crown the Chargers AFC West champions. We were putting Justin Herbert atop our MVP power rankings. And now, look, you drop 2 straight. It doesn't help. You lose Rashawn Slater early. You lose Joe Walt. Injuries are aplenty, but welcome to the NFL.
Tampa Bay 38, Seattle 35, Baker Mayfield versus Sam Darnold. What a battle this was. Mayfield was 29 of 33 for 379 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, and a quarterback rating of the 134.7. Darnold was 28 of 34 for 341 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a quarterback rating of 135.4. However, he threw a costly interception, throwing the football off his back foot, and it turned out to cost Seattle the ball game. Entering this game, Seattle's defense had allowed the 3rd fewest points in the NFL. Mayfield was 7 of 11 on 3rd down conversions Tampa Bay became the first team in NFL history to win 4 games by 3 points or fewer in their first 5 games.
Baker Mayfield right now is the league MVP. I don't think there's any bones about it. The best record, one of the best records at least. Nobody's undefeated anymore, and you're leading that division, and Baker Mayfield continues to be top 5 in touchdowns, passing yards, all the good stats, and he leads game-winning drives, Bruce. It's absolutely crazy to think Emeka Buka is a rising superstar. He'll be Offensive Rookie of the Year, no doubt about it. Who'd have thought Baker Mayfield through 5 weeks would be the league MVP favorite? Not technically in odds, but from my eyes when I'm watching, Baker Mayfield deserves to be MVP.
Not me. And what a difference a year makes. Last season, the Jacksonville Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence, their quarterback, they were a joke. This year, it appears like they might be the team that does a complete turnaround and becomes a Super Bowl contender. Ryan just said what a difference in the NFL from week to week, let alone year to year. Last night's 31-28, or the other night's 31-28 win over the Kansas City Chiefs proves that the Jaguars are relevant. Not only did Lawrence throw a touchdown pass going 18 of 25 through the air, but he ran for a touchdown, rushing for 54 yards on the ground. Patrick Mahomes had a great game in defeat. However, a costly pick by Jacksonville linebacker Dennon Lloyd for a 99-yard touchdown run in the third quarter gave Jacksonville momentum and the boost they needed to go on and pull off this upset. By the way, Lloyd's interception was the longest interception returned by a linebacker in the regular season in NFL history. Ryan, what did I tell you about Jacksonville this year?
I can't believe the Chiefs blew a 14-point lead. That was the biggest surprise of this. They got rolling right away, and I thought this one was going to be over pretty quickly. I can't prove it yet, Bruce. I still don't think Jacksonville is that good.
I know you don't.
Maybe in a couple weeks I'll be able to point to it, but gosh, I don't know how they keep winning games. I'm still not bought in, but I do have to give them their flowers because 4-1
they got
is
a tough one at home this week against Seattle, and we'll see what I know that who Ryan's going to pick in that game. But our picks are next. Bonus Time with Drennan, Big Play Sports Network, brought to you by FanDuel.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Garage Beer. No bitterness, no frills, no IPA, just beer-flavored beer. Find local retailers who sell garage beer near you by visiting drinkgaragebeer.com.
Time to dissect our picks. Ryan makes the picks. I make the picks against the spread. We didn't pick week 1, so we could both give ourselves an opportunity to get acclimated to what's going to happen in this NFL campaign. But this is from week 2, and this last week I went 3-3 against the spread in the games that we select. We picked the top games. The best matchups. And Ryan went 2 for 4 in the Minnesota-Cleveland game. Ryan, you had Cleveland. I had Minnesota, obviously very close all the way. Denver, Ryan, you won that one. You took Denver. I took Philly. In the San Francisco win over the Rams, we both had the Niners. We both had Seattle in their loss against Tampa Bay. We both had the Chargers in their loss to Washington. And Ryan, you took Kansas City against Jacksonville, and I went with the Jaguars. So we go into this week, and here is the games we're going to pick. Cleveland's getting 5.5 at Pittsburgh. Your choice first, Ryan.
Oh, God, jeez. Oh, man, I want to take the Browns so bad. If you could just not be dumb, not limit the turnovers and run the ball. You should be able to limit Aaron Rodgers, but just, I'll go the Steelers, Bruce. I want to go the Browns so bad.
I am going with the Browns.
Oh, jeez, now they're going to win.
And the only reason I'm going with them is because this is a rivalry. Flacco's gone. The shadow of him is gone. It's a new, and I think that, I'm not necessarily thinking that they can beat Pittsburgh, but 5.5 in a rivalry like this. I looked at the last 6 years between Cleveland and Pittsburgh, and we've actually fared fairly well, and particularly against the spread. So I'll take the Steelers. Ryan's going, or I'll take the Browns, and the Ryan's going with the Steelers. All right, next, the LA Rams are getting 7.5 points at Baltimore. I don't get it. With Jackson out, I don't get it. So it scares me. It does scare me. Maybe they know something in Vegas that we don't. But how can you go with Baltimore the way they're reeling? So I got to take the Rams here, Ryan.
Yeah, I'm going the Rams as well, without a doubt.
Seattle is getting 1.5 at Jacksonville. Your pick here has got to be Seattle, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, okay, this might be the game where if they go ahead and win, I have to be like, okay, I accept I was wrong. But Seattle's defense is for real legit. If they manage to go 5-1 on the season, I will be perplexed. I think Seahawks come in a little mad knowing they should have won that game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Give me the Seahawks to cover all day.
I have to admit, I gave this game a lot of thought. I researched it, and I really favored Seattle in this game. But I got to go with Jacksonville just because of you.
Don't blame you, Bruce.
Next, San Francisco's getting 3 at Tampa Bay. And San Francisco's still banged up. Purdy's going to be out. Kittle's out. 3 receivers out. Bosa's still out. Although they seem to find a way to stay in games and win. They're 4-1, but I'll take Mayfield. They're really hot right now, the Bucs are, and they're at home.
Yeah, these are two teams that are very well coached, both dealing with some injury issues. So obviously Buccaneers kind of get that typical 3-point home spread leaning in their favor. I'll go Buccaneers. I've been on them all season long. I bet Baker Mayfield in the preseason to win MVP. I hope that happens. Give me Tampa Bay.
All right, and here's a tough one. Detroit is getting 2.5 at Kansas City. You choose first.
Yeah. I got to go with the Lions. They've been an absolute wagon. Ever since losing to the Green Bay Packers, they look like a completely different team. Best offense in the league. Chiefs, I can't believe what I'm seeing. I understand you get Xavier Worthy back and the offense looks good, but your defense has had plenty of lapses this season. You're blowing 14-point leads. We're seeing totally uncharacteristic things happen to the Chiefs dynasty that we know and love. Actually, we just know, not love. So I'm going the Detroit Lions to win this one. I think they win it by at least 5 points.
Kansas City may not even win their division this year the way Denver's going. The Chargers have lost 2 in a row, but I anticipate that they'll regroup somehow, some way. But I just can't believe giving Kansas City and Mahomes points at Arrowhead. So I go Kansas City in this one. We shall see how we do. Let's switch to the college ranks when we come back on Bonus Time here on Big Play.
The Big Play Sports Network is brought to you by Fairway Ford, the largest inventory of new Ford trucks, the lowest pricing, and same hometown level of service. Visit fairwayfordohio.com today.
Like the NFL, it was a fascinating weekend and Saturday specifically in college football, that's for sure. The AP rankings are out, and our Ohio State Buckeyes remain number 1 with their 42-3 victory over Minnesota. Sayan, 23 of 27, 326 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's looking better and better. And also, Carnell Tate, 183 yards and a touchdown. Wow. At Illinois in the next game, and that's going to be interesting. Number 2 is Miami. They went up 1 spot in the AP poll from 3 to 2. Their 28-22 victory over Florida State. It was a 28-3. It was 28-3 entering the 4th quarter before Florida State quarterback Tommy Castellanos staged a comeback, but too high a mountain to climb for the Seminoles. Carson Beck, 20 of 27, 241 yards and 4 touchdowns, a 197.9 rating. Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, Carson Beck has been phenomenal this season. He's certainly in the Heisman race. I thought the score was less indicative of how close it was. Miami got up to the lead early. Then they were kind of playing some backyard type of ball that allowed Florida State to get back into it. So I think Miami really completely dominated them. You can make an argument for Miami to be number 1, and I'd totally listen to it. I think the right choice is Ohio State. But Miami and Ohio State, and then Oregon I have a little bit below them, but both of those teams right now championship favorites.
What's interesting is that who's going to beat Miami now in the ACC?
Right.
And who's going to beat Georgia Tech? They got a big scare from Wake Forest, though. We'll get to them in a minute. Oregon goes down 1 spot because they were idle, and Miami had a big win over Florida State. So Oregon's number 3. They will host Indiana this weekend. That's a huge game. Ole Miss was idle. They stay at number 4. Texas A&M is number 5. They go up from number 6 with their 31-9 win over Mississippi State. And Oklahoma goes from 5 to 6, down 1 spot despite a 44-0 win over Kent State. Now, coming up this Saturday is the game against Texas, the Red River rivalry. And get this, the opening line at the beginning of the season, this game, was Texas minus 11.5. Now it's Texas minus 2.5, Ryan.
And it would be favored towards Oklahoma if John Mateer was playing. That's the craziest part. If John Mateer, their starting quarterback, didn't go down with an injury, he was the Heisman frontrunner. If he was in this game, without a doubt, Oklahoma would be the favorite now over Texas, which is just nuts to think about.
Indiana's number 7. They're up 1 spot. Can they play with Oregon?
I guess we'll find out, Bruce. I think right now out of Ohio State and Oregon, obviously we'll get to Penn State. That's a whole debate. But then Indiana's right there. Kurt Cignetti's done a phenomenal job. Fernando Mendoza, 6'5", got a cannon. He'll be a first-round pick probably next season. This is the game where you find out if Indiana is real.
Number 8 is Alabama. They're up 2 spots following their 30-14 victory over Vanderbilt. And this game was tied at 14 at the half, but Bama dominated in the second half, handing Vanderbilt their first loss of the season. And the Commodores get a week off to recoup, and then we'll see how good they really are because they will host LSU. I was impressed with Vanderbilt. I watched this game. I was impressed with them in the first half, but Alabama, like I say, prevailed in the second half, showed they were the better team.
Yeah, Ty Simpson has been phenomenal this season. He'll be getting some Heisman votes. He'll probably be in New York when they announce the finalists. They have one of the best passing offenses in the entire nation. We just have to see if they can run the ball to be consistent, and that'll be the key.
Texas Tech is number 9. They're up 2 spots. They are 5-0 and kind of a sleeper out of that Big 12. All right, number 10 is Georgia Tech. They're up 2 spots with their 35-14 victory over Kent State. Now, they've got a big game coming up at Auburn, and I say a big game, not that Auburn is that highly touted, but Auburn's Auburn. The game's at Auburn. And could this be a trap game for Georgia?
I don't know if
I said Georgia Tech, I believe. I want to stand corrected. This is Georgia. That's ranked number 10.
Yeah, I don't even know if you consider it a trap game because I think Auburn's still a talented team. They haven't gone a couple things gone their way. But Georgia right now, I don't think they're going to lose this game. I think they're so upset that they lost to Alabama. I thought they should have won that game. The SEC is so wide open this year, Bruce. Usually it's so top heavy, and it still is kind of, but you're having teams in the back end, like we've talked about, that are really coming up and entering that upper echelon.
Well, what we might see, let's say in the ACC, you have undefeated Georgia Tech and undefeated Miami playing for the ACC championship. They both could get in. Even the loser could get in to the 12-team playoff. So if you have everybody in the SEC beating up each other,
right,
2-3 losses, it could prevent SEC teams from getting in when they legitimately could be better than certainly Georgia Tech. We don't know yet about Miami. They look to be for real. LSU is one of these teams. They're up 2 spots and number 11 this week in the AP. Tennessee's another one of these teams. They're up 3 spots and ranked number 12 in this week's AP. Georgia Tech is up 4 spots despite being idle, and they are ranked number 13. Now, I just mentioned them. I was impressed with them at the beginning of the season, but maybe Florida State isn't as good as what we thought they were, Ryan. And obviously, they had a real close call against Wake Forest. Missouri is up 5 spots. They're idle. Now, there's another team in the SEC. They were idle, but they went up 5 spots, and they're ranked number 14. Here we go. Michigan is up 5 spots to number 15 after their 24-10 win over Wisconsin. Luke Fickell is in trouble in Madison. There is no question about it. His next game is at home against Iowa. If Ferentz beats him, that could be it. He may get fired within the season. Michigan, meanwhile, is getting 2.5 at Southern Cal, Ryan.
So I'm just thinking about Luke Fickell. I don't really like to see anybody lose their job. Don't get me wrong, but as a jaded Bearcat fan, seeing my Bearcats almost being ranked and seeing everything going wrong for Luke Fickell in Wisconsin, you should have stayed. We could have built something special. We'll see you later.
Notre Dame is number 16. They went up 5 spots with their 28-7 victory over Boise State. The Irish must run the table, and even if they do they get in?
I think they do, and it's hinging on a couple things. One, are you beating these teams handily? And then 2, the 2 teams they lost to, Miami and Texas A&M, well, that's the number 2 team and the number 5 team in the nation. If they stay undefeated, which is unlikely, but if they both are conference champions in the ACC and the SEC, I don't see how you keep Notre Dame out.
Well, and Florida, their next game is at LSU, so that will be a real test for them. Am I right on that? Is Florida's Florida's got a tough game coming up. At any rate, the Gators are another team that surprised, that floored everybody this last week, Yeah,
the Gators, they have A&M this week. That's the one, number 5, A&M. They have had the most brutal schedule
ever. Not LSU, A&M.
Yep.
Right. So Next is Illinois. They're number 17. They're up 5 spots with a 43-27 victory over Purdue. Obviously, they play Ohio State next. That game is in Champaign. BYU is up 5 spots as they are 5-0. They're number 18 in the country. Number 19 in the country is Virginia. They're up 5 spots. Their record's 5-1. Vanderbilt's down 4 following that loss to Bama. Iowa State is down 8 spots following their loss 38-30 to your alma mater.
Let's go. Yeah, Bearcats were running away in the first half. They were up 32, I believe it was 7. Second half, Iowa State came back. Cincinnati's offense looked lifeless, but they finally win another big ranked game. They're right on the outside, the number 26th ranked team, if you're counting that. So hopefully by next week, they will be in the top 25.
Well, we're going to wrap up the Guardian season and talk about the playoffs when we come back as bonus time continues here on Big Play. With a $100 million payroll, the Cleveland Guardians have the 6th lowest payroll in the major leagues. They had the lowest payroll of all 12 teams that made the playoffs this year. By the way, Cincinnati had the 7th lowest payroll this last year, and the Milwaukee Brewers had the 8th lowest payroll. Fans who criticize the Guardians, formerly the Indians, for not spending enormous money on free agents, I believe, for the most part, don't understand the economics of baseball, especially compared to the NFL, NBA, and NHL. They all have salary caps. Baseball does not. For example, the Green Bay Packers get as much money from the league, the NFL, as do the New York Giants, the Chicago Bears, the LA Rams, and every other team in the league. For that matter, to put it more in perspective, the New York Yankees radio contract, I repeat, radio, generates more money for that organization than the combined money given to the Cincinnati Reds and the Cleveland Guardians with their television contracts. Think of that. Even though having money to spend big on free agents certainly helps, it far from guarantees success. The Atlanta Braves have the 8th highest payroll, and they didn't make the playoffs. The Texas Rangers have the 7th highest payroll, and they didn't make the playoffs. The Houston Astros have the 6th highest payroll, and they didn't make the playoffs. And the New York Mets have the 2nd highest payroll in Major League Baseball, and they didn't make the playoffs. In the last 10 seasons under Chris Antonetti and Mike Chernoff, the leadership of the front office, Cleveland has qualified for the playoffs 7 times, including 3 of the last 4 years and winning the division the last 2 seasons in a row. In 2016, the team made it to the World Series, lost to the Chicago Cubs in 7 games, and concluding with a heartbreaking 10-inning loss. Despite this amazing success for a team with one of the lowest payrolls, the goal is to win the World Series. We've gone longer than any other Major League franchise without winning a world championship. That goes back to 1948. That was even before Ryan was born.
Barely.
As I've told you all season long, I believe the team was a year away. I'm glad to admit that I was wrong about them. I counted them out even before the All-Star break, if you recall. This season is over. But no. Cleveland staged the biggest comeback in Major League history. Stephen Vogt is a shoo-in to win Manager of the Year in the American League for the 2nd year in a row after winning it last year as a rookie manager. Jose Ramirez is not going to win the MVP, but he's going to get some votes. Stephen Kwan is the best defensive left fielder in the major leagues, and one of the best leadoff men in the business. Everybody knows we've got to score more runs. Hopefully Manzardo, Rocchio, Arias, Schneemann, Noel, Rodriguez, Martinez, and Naylor will improve at the plate. And the influx of a slew of top prospects like Kefis, Valera, DeLauder, Brito, and Bazzana will emerge. Nonetheless, the front office must decide on three options. Stand pat and hope these kids blossom. Trade one or more or some of the talented young prospects for a proven bat, or sign a free agent. Notice, I haven't even mentioned the pitching. That's because we have from top to bottom one of the best pitching staffs in the entire major leagues. Which 5 starting pitchers do you go with next year? What a nice problem to have. Which arms do you choose among about a dozen to fill out that bullpen? That's a real nice problem to have. So I am very looking forward to next spring training, and the future is bright, and I'm excited about the years to come for this organization. Ryan?
It was certainly an exciting season, Bruce. I mean, 15 games and a half back, while the end result, losing in the wild card, certainly wasn't what people wanted to see after an ALCS appearance. Bruce, you mention it every single time we talk about the Guardians, how bright the future is. You say next year, and honestly, next year could be the year to repeat again, 3 times AL Central champions. The youth movement, it appears, is here to stay. I'm excited. There's so many bright young faces in this lineup. Hopefully we see as everyday players next year that we're able to get excited about. And this could be just the beginning of a team that is a real problem for the American League for a couple years to come.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be something if this World Series winds up Seattle and Milwaukee?
I'd love that.
The networks wouldn't love it, but I'd love it. And it's a possibility, obviously, with Seattle coming back as we record. They haven't yet played Game 4 with Detroit up against it. Yankees are up against it after a dramatic comeback against Bieber and Toronto in Game 3. Obviously, the Cubs are up against it in Milwaukee. I do not see them coming back and winning 3 in a row. And how about the Dodgers beating Philly in the first 2 games in Philadelphia? That's amazing.
It is amazing. I think I'm going to be rooting for the Blue Jays, Bruce. There's just so many Cleveland Guardians ties there. I like Bieber. Vladdy Jr. Vladdy Jr. is a lot of fun to cheer for, and obviously guys like
And they don't have Bichette.
Yes.
He was the hottest hitter in the league when he got hurt. All right, when we come back, it's time for the Ask Bruce segment. That's next on Bonus Time here on the Big Play Sports Network, brought to you by FanDuel. Okay, I always look forward to the Ask Bruce segment. Fire away, Ryan.
Alrighty, we'll start right here. Bruce, coming off the heels of a Guardians season. Hey, Bruce, do you foresee the Guardians retaining Austin Hedges on the ball club next season?
That's a tough one because he's such a clubhouse leader, but boy, you got to hit and improve with the offense from that position too. I could see him eventually becoming a coach with our team. I really could because he's such a mentor, but they've got a catcher. I forget his name in the minors that's close to being ready. So if he shows promise in spring training, they could bring him up as a backup to Naylor.
Well, speaking of coaches, Bruce, I know this isn't what we want to hear, but if the Guardians do indeed lose Carl Willis, could you see Corey Kluber being the next pitching coach for this club?
Absolutely, I could. Very easily. He could slide into that role. He's got an even keel demeanor, and of course, he's just a brilliant pitching mind. That's a very good suggestion, and I think that's a very real possibility if Willis hangs it up. But boy, isn't Willis something?
Alrighty, hey, Bruce, do you think it's likely or unlikely that the Guardians pick up John Means as team option?
I think it's likely because he's got some good years left in him. And if he comes back healthy, I don't think there's any question that they'll pick up his option. He's a very talented veteran pitcher who would be the veteran presence. Not that Bibee hasn't attained veteranship now, because he has, and Williams to a degree too, but all the others, So I do, and again, this ties in with what I'm saying. How do you choose between all these starters and relievers coming out of spring training? It's amazing how loaded the Guardians organization is, and it's really a credit. Means is a veteran who came from Baltimore, obviously, but it's a credit to the system in developing this pitchers. Now it's questionable whether all these position players that we have brought up will blossom as hitters, because that's what we desperately need.
Alrighty, this one comes from our guy Jack at Big Play. He says, "Hey Bruce, what are your thoughts on Adley Rutschman as a Guardians offseason trade target? He's been pounding the table for one Adley Rutschman."
That would be a fascinating deal. You'd have to give up some prospects to get him, though. That's for sure. And talk about a franchise in disarray, going from the playoffs to non-distinction. How do you explain that, Ryan? I mean, I would love to see him here, though. But then what do you do with Naylor? I mean, that's the dilemma of it.
Alrighty, hey, Bruce, we'll end here on this one. We'll flip over to the Cavs as the preseason starts. That season opener's right around the corner. Hey, Bruce, is it NBA Finals or bust for the Cavs this season, especially knowing the Pacers without Halliburton and the Celtics without Jason Tatum?
Yes. That's all the time we have. Yes.
I agree. I think a lot of people agree.
Thanks so much for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the show here on Big Play. Our bonus time with Drennan brought to you by FanDuel. I'm Bruce Drennan on behalf of Ryan Smith. We'll be back next week with more of the same. You have a great week. So until then, as always, and most importantly, you remember, I love you, Ohio, and I love you, Cleveland. Thank you.